Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Candle or the Night podcast. This is a actual play role-playing adventure using a Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars Force and Destiny system. We are doing episode number 16 tonight, which, in honor of Jensa, we have named Horrible Moon People. Stay tuned to find out why. We would like to invite you to check out our website at www.candleorthenight.com. You can find links there to our YouTube channel, where you can get video episodes. There's also links to our artwork and character backstories. If you are enjoying the show, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever podcast source you listen to. It's a wonderful help, and we do appreciate it. Lastly, if you have any comments or want to shoot us a message, a couple ways to do it. You can give us an email at feedback@candleorthenight.com, or you could go to our Facebook page and send us a message through there. That about wraps it up for our opening announcements. We hope you enjoy the show. All right. So why don't we get started? So, okay. Bior, for the first time, actually, you rolled unlucky with conflict. So, you go down by 1 morality. But it doesn't matter because you still have a higher morality than anybody in the entire party. So we're all good.
It's fine. It has to happen at least once.
So we are all
getting jaded.
He is. He's getting jaded. He's hanging out with you guys too much, getting jaded. All right. So first, I wanted to, before we kind of jump into the game, I wanted to kind of just quickly present our new artwork because Chalmer, our artist, has finished 2 new pieces of art, which are fantastic. And first, let's bring up... You should all have this pop up on your screen here.
Ooh,
that's really good.
I love the way he featured the gun and the rose. Oh, the conflict.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. So things that Jensa wanted captured in this picture, since she's a character that has always had the gift of foresight and the Force, often to a degree which has tortured her slightly. She wanted her character depicted on the ship, gazing out into space, but sort of troubled, staring off into the distance as if she sees something that no one else does. And we did want to include Alda's rose in the picture. And she was fairly specific with her eyes and hair appearance and everything. And I think Chalmer did an amazing job. So that's beautiful artwork.
He captured the faraway gaze that's slightly troubled really well.
And so I have added that to our website, by the way, for all of you guys. If you want to check it out later, it is www.candleorthenight.com. And that has our shows listed on there as well as all the artwork. There's a nice portfolio of sort of all the artwork. And if you click on each of the pieces of art, there's character descriptions and things like that that kind of get you caught up on what's gone on so far. And then, so Jensa's art, fantastic. And I'm very happy also to present Kip's. And Kip, why don't you briefly describe what you wanted to see in this artwork and what was captured that you're happy with?
So I wanted Kip at a workbench working on something, didn't matter what. The tools he'd be using would be really simple. So here you see his metallic tweezers, and somehow they're creating sparks. If you look at the rest of his tools, you see that they're very simple. I thought it would be cool to have the sparks sort of light up his face and I wanted to see have him have a serene look on his face while he's working on something. It's very much like Jensa, where he's sort of staring off into the mid distance, yet working, to sort of highlight the fact that not all of his mechanical skill, a lot of his mechanical skill is innate smarts, but not all of it is. And he has no, and as you guys have figured out, he has no clue that not all of his talents are based off of his intellect. Yeah.
And who's your little friend over your shoulder?
Well, this would be an instance of you will find out soon.
This is precognition. I have precognition.
Oh, damn.
It is precognition. I wanted it included in the artwork because it was going to be central to his character, but we have to sort of let that unfold. So,
but actually, and that the droid, the hovering droid, is something that I just think that Chalmer did an amazing job. I just sort of sketched out, like Albie and I talked about it. I just sort of sketched out, like, yeah, make it, sort of like coconut sized. I like and I wanted sort of 5 optic receptors. And he did a really, really great job with that, I think.
Yeah, once again, he nailed it.
And I love that your pockets are literally stuffed with tools.
Yes, and I love the fact that the tools are like super simple. Like there's actually a mallet there.
For croquet.
Yeah, and as we now know from listening to prior episode, his innate force gifts were in manipulate, which is a force power that helps you to alter electronics and such. So that's why, even though despite he's holding such a simplified tool, he seems to be generating a effect greater than that tool should create. So yep, that beautiful artwork also up on the site, along with his very detailed character description and background, which he put up there. And that was great. Kip, thank you. So why don't we actually jump into our recap from last time? We'll get Viktor caught up and then kind of jump into the game. Okay, so welcome to, it is session 16 now, actually, of A Candle or the Night, a Star Wars Force and Destiny adventure. Last time, on session 15, the party finally has a moment to rest and process their struggles and hardships as they travel on the Errant Seeker, their starship, through hyperspace to meet with the transport, which is housing all the refugees from Duskin's Cove, which, I should say, you guys helped to create a diversion so they could all successfully escape. Kip successfully repairs Jensa's lightsaber. We'll put repairs in quotes there. An artifact weapon known as Sirocco, which was once held by Captain Jagasan. It now has a refined blade edge, which satisfies Jensa's expectations for a proper lightsaber. The party analyzes the holocron that was left by Master Nouen and is able to figure out how to access it. A holographic repository of all of Master Nouen's knowledge is now available for their exploration. The emotional trauma that the party suffered caused Jensa to seek some private time in her quarters. Using her force foresight, she gets a hint about the antidote to Master Nouen's poison. Upon sleeping, both Jensa and Bior share a common vision in their dreams. Neither knows the other also saw it, and little is known about it by the other party members, and Jensa mentions nothing. Upon arrival at the transport, the party reunites with Hornaday. He closes a deal with them for a significant amount of credits for the sale of their rare kyber crystals that they found back in Starshard Canyon, and he also agreed to broker a meeting between your party and Shuck Rodank, the famous chemist and spice fabricator. Initially, the meeting did not go very well, as the party managed to insult him once again, Mr. Rodank that is, with a judgmental attitude, particularly Jensa. However, Tyrus and Hornaday managed to salvage the proceedings and broker a deal. The party agreed to carry illicit cargo to the Tyon cluster in exchange for delivery of an antidote to the poison that afflicts Master Nouen. They also got free fuel and an extra 5,000 credits upon successful delivery without any, well, conditional upon there not being any apprehension by the authorities. Hornaday also tells the party that the charismatic techno-industrialist and smuggler baron, Geleth Hawk, wants to meet the party and tie up some loose ends on promises he made and has not yet delivered. One can only wonder what Mr. Hawk has in store for our heroes as the pressure mounts to get to the rebel frigate and see their arrangements for Master Nouen to their completion. And so that catches us up. You guys are on the transport. You have just completed your meeting with Shuck Rodank. You have made this agreement. You do know that you have a expected meeting with Geleth Hawk on this transport before you take off. And other than that, I open it up to you.
Well, at last check, I think Jensa and Kip and I were heading over to the meeting with Hawk right away. And Viktor was trying to unscramble the computer.
Yes, we will. Yes, sorry, Vic, I didn't catch you up on that. Basically, what happened was we had your character try to use your slicing skills to pick up data from protected servers on anything you could try and pick up on Crate. And unfortunately, the roll was very poor, and you were sort of counter-hacked, and the ship systems sort of were slightly affected for a while. But you managed to straighten that out during the last episode. So, and I would say that after Tyrus, since you seem to be the negotiator and dealer for the group, after this deal with Shuck is closed, he walks up to you. He has actually one of his lackeys do it. They bring to you a data pad, essentially asking for your signature on a contract specifying that, number one, you will safely bring this cargo to the Tyon cluster for his people to pick up. Number two, you will not open or tamper with it. And number three, and above all, he will not have it caught, collected, or scanned by the authorities. In exchange, he is having people immediately go ahead of you and head to the rebel ship Tenacity, where Master Nouen is currently under medical care, to deliver the antidote on your behalf. So that will arrive there before you could ever arrive there, and he has that already in hand. So you have the data pad, and he's requesting your signature.
Well, the Mune are quite familiar with the elasticity of certain contracts, so of course I read it very carefully, and I ask, and if we fail? Question mark.
He says something in Aquilish which you don't understand. And Hornaday turns to you for a moment and looks at you and then looks back at him and then kind of breaks in. Oh, don't worry. These guys never fail. And he's patting you on the back, Tyrus. Just trying to lighten the mood a little bit as Shuck is kind of just staring at you, Tyrus. And his two panthers are just sort of sitting next to him, both eyes locked on you.
Well, given the palette of options, I do sign the contract.
So here's what I'm thinking. After we talk with Mr. Hawk, I was thinking we could maybe get a quad laser for the front, increase our armor, or reinforce our shield generators. Kip, what do you think?
Patron Jensa, I think that we should. Well, Captain Jagasan used to say, "The best defense, or the best defense is a good offense." I think we should put on another.
Yeah, the quad lasers are probably our best bet for our ships. That's my opinion. Kip, feel free to cut me off if you don't think the quad lasers are a good pick. but they're
we never
8,000
cut you
credits.
off, Jensa. Patron Jensa.
Well, you know the ship better than I do. I mean, you just have a innate knack for it, and I kind of smirk.
Yes, Patron.
Do you think there's a better gun for the ship?
No, Patron Jensa.
Is that your honest opinion, Kip?
I will put on whatever gun you tell me to.
Okay, well, I'm asking you what gun you think we should put on the ship.
Okay, OOC.
If you would want to roll an average knowledge warfare, I can give you some information.
I was thinking
Okay.
of the quad lasers, so that's just from my shopping. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Dan.
No, that's fine. No, I don't remember where to look for this.
Right back and grab some tea.
If
Warfare,
you open your
mean? Okay, got
if
it.
you open your
Yep.
character sheet and skills, if you want to roll a knowledge warfare average check, I can volunteer information that your character might know.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to add the difficulty. So I'll do that right now. It's 2 difficulty.
Yeah, you could just roll the 2
that right?
purple dice,
Okay.
and we'll reconcile them. Snap. Okay.
Wow.
That's fine.
Yeah. So that's about the worst possible roll you could get off two difficulty dice. So yeah, Kip, she just blindsides you with this, and you're not quite sure what to say, and you just, have nothing much
He
to
defers
add.
to his captain like he was trying to. Page and Jensa, those cannons down. Excellent.
She's AFK, sorry.
Oh, okay.
She's trying to remedy herself.
You all see that when she asks him that question, there's no change in facial, but you see him like sort of wiggle his fingers down by his hip, almost like that's what he's doing. He's just continually doing, like sort of rubbing his thumb against each of his fingertips over and over and over again.
Can I attempt to read that body language to understand what he's feeling?
Yeah, you would basically do a vigilance check, average difficulty.
I think I will join Victor in that one.
So Vic, you
Victor.
catch his body language and his repetitive finger motions, as I believe you described it.
Yes.
And why don't you, Dan? Why don't you describe in your own words, kind of what that might have communicated to Victor?
So, when you see this, and this is probably it's not the first time you've seen it, but it's the first time you've probably put it all together. It is a repetitive motion that Kip doesn't even realize he's doing. But you can tell it is signaling agitation, but at the same time, it is soothing to him. In the language of Asperger's and autism spectrum, he's stimming. He's stimulating himself to give himself comfort.
Mm-hmm.
It's like rocking.
Please
back
don't
and forth.
stimulate yourself in front of the ladies. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That'll be one for the web series.
Yeah. I'm going to make an infographic.
A candle indeed.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. So yeah, not to direct attention away from what you were saying, Kip, but yeah, Vic. So that's kind of what you pick up on.
Got it.
yeah. I'll say that you pick up on the fact that this kid is Kip is. I know Jensa may have thought he's suffering from Stockholm syndrome. And he may
That is
very
exactly what Jensa thinks, and I'm failing to realize it's anything else. I think he's been beaten and.
Right. That may be. I mean, he may be suffering from Stockholm syndrome in other cases, but Vic, you know that this is not that. This is intrinsic to Kip.
So I want to try something, Albie. With my education level, I want
Have I heard of autism?
I want to come up with a way of helping to relate things in a language that Kip would understand. In other words, I want to have additional insight in how to effectively communicate with him.
What I would do is, if you would roll a hard education check and you succeed or gain advantage, your further social interactions with him would have a boost dice.
Okay.
And in terms of your further social interactions with him, in terms of trying to convince or negotiate or such things, would have a boost dice if you succeed.
Well,
okay, so
sort of a mixed picture.
And now that you have succeeded, so you rolled 2 successes and 3 threats. So now that you've succeeded, briefly describe to us how you would you verbally or make an attempt, or would this be like a silent thought to yourself as you analyze him?
I would say, Kip, you are uniquely skilled in recognizing the strengths of our ship. How can we make our offenses stronger?
And before you answer, Kip, Tyrus, you do succeed in any further social attempts with his character, you'd get a boost dice. However, Kip, you're very aware that he's, I don't want to say patronizing you, but you can kind of feel that there's something behind what he's saying that is a little bit as if you're being slightly manipulated. And that's the result of the threat roll there. So,
So
and feel free to answer, Kip.
Yep. You see Kip's, but now he's doing the finger waggling with both hands, and he says, "I'm sorry to have failed you, patron Tyrus. I do not know." And he hangs his head.
I'm gonna just kind of mosey a little closer to Kip. I'm not gonna touch him or anything. I'm gonna say, you know what, it's okay, Kip. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. How about you make sure that I pick the right one out, and I'll help you put it in. You can teach me a little bit about the guns. How about that?
Fire, what would your character be doing amidst this moment?
And then I just look hopelessly at Viktor, like...
Yeah, no. Well, Byers, I'm observing what's happening, and I'm just confused as to why everyone's like coddling him so much.
So what would his visible, what would you see on Byers' face right now?
Kind of like a frustrated look.
Okay.
A confused, slightly frustrated look. Not the happiest look, I would say. Not a pleasant look.
Let's just try to get a mosey on.
Yes, Tyrus is absolutely at his wit's end and just harumphs and heads off to see our friend the smuggler.
While this happens, Vic, you're getting a ping on your datapad on a private message, a HoloNet message.
I'm gonna take this into the room. Is there another room?
Yeah, you could step away for a moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna step away and answer that.
I'm gonna just handle it out here because it's nothing too invasive to your character. But I would say that you see a message that, of course, only you would read that says, "Vic, when you have time, swing by the cantina. We we'd like to give you a gift, and it's signed by Hal Satha, who you remember is the head of the Hellions, who you helped. And he says underneath, feel free to bring your friends.
All right, I'll step back out to the party and let everybody know you got an invitation.
From?
Hellion.
Our friends, the Hellions.
Can we, like, get away from these horrible moon people? I just feel like... I feel like that's better for us for some reason.
Well, they did say they had a gift.
Oh, I'm sure it's like hostages that they need smuggled across interstellar space.
No,
It's sex toys and hostages, you know.
It's a kilo
Guys,
of black
we
tar
have
heroin.
slept
What's
for-
the big deal?
Yeah, exactly. We've slept like 8 hours. Our ship's already been shot up, and we've had it less than 24. Let's just meet with the one guy, and then I'm gonna go to the ship, and I'm gonna try to fix the dents and upgrade the systems as best I can. And hopefully, Kip wants to help me, but he doesn't have to.
So Jensa's a no.
Yeah, I'm a hard no
I'm gonna
here.
RSVP no.
Look, I think we all have some sort of like horrible moon trauma going on. We don't need to keep these people in our lives. I'm just saying.
Well, hold on, Jensa. We're about to go negotiate with the smuggler, and I need your unique charm.
Well, I'm coming to see the smuggler. I already put the lipstick on.
Me too.
Oh god,
is this
I need to
cantina
redo your
meeting-
art now, Tyrus.
Is this cantina meeting before we meet this hawk dude? Or
That's up to
after
you,
we
folks.
Well, I mean, timing-wise, did they say when they were going to be at the cantina, or are they like, hey, we're at the cantina now, and how many hours until we meet this smuggler dude?
You'd get the impression from reading it that there's no particular rush. They probably spend a fair amount of time in the cantina.
What about the smuggler guy?
Since you heard about that first, yeah, you'd probably imagine that it's probably more time sensitive than the other.
All right. Well, then
From
in
what you
that
recall
case-
of him, he probably is not a man that likes to wait too much.
Yeah, then I am fine heading there first, and then I'll stop by the cantina.
All right. So,
On our way, I just want to kind of like quietly talk to Victor, like as we're walking, and I'm just gonna say, I really, really have a bad feeling we're gonna scanning that cargo, and you remember what happened last time, right?
Did we see the cargo crates?
No, we haven't seen it yet.
no, you haven't seen them. They, from what your natural understanding of how these things work in commerce on stations and ships and stuff, it's going to be transferred to your ship. And since you lock the ship, it'll be transferred outside your ship in the hangar. But when you come back, it'll be loaded on.
But we'll at least get to see the crates, right?
You will see the external surface of the crates, so you have agreed in the contract not to open or tamper with them.
Understood. Well, the deal has been made. So when the crates are loaded, we'll at least... Well, we'll see if it's like last time. I think that would be pretty evident.
Well, I'd just like to point out last time we were in deep space before it became evident. Just saying.
Yeah, but we didn't get to see the crates. Plus, this guy, I mean, you know
I'm
what he
not going to
does.
physically tamper with them, but I might think about them really, really hard, and I can't promise that that's not going to make me aware of what's in them. That's just all I'm saying.
Understood. Just let me know if you think about cracking any lids open.
Obviously.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't suggest.
Playfully elbow him.
Tyrus has been using his forehead like a satellite dish, and he turns to Jensa and says, signing a contract, madam, is not the same as following it.
I hear ya. I'm just saying. We've just had bad luck.
Your luck's about to change.
Always had bad luck. What? You know what? Let's just hold judgment on whether or not my look will change or not. Let's just see.
We're alive. We're off the moon. That's pretty damn lucky.
It's not lucky. I told you guys this was all gonna happen.
I just love Jensa being like these frigging moon people.
And Bior gave us all his stuff. I mean, come on, what are you looking for?
Oh, guys, by the way, that saber I picked up is bad business. We'll talk about it back on the ship, though.
We
Oh,
actually
here we
do
go.
have to talk about that.
Wow. Fine Corinthian leather.
That's beautiful. Like, wow.
He looks like Jude Law.
That is that
With
is an
better
example of a Pantoran, which is his race. That is not specifically artwork of him, but it's in the vein of it. His artwork is coming soon, but this would give you an idea of sort of what he looks like. He'd be dressed similarly when you
He'll
see
be
him
a
today.
long-term NPC. I'll be checking out the money on him.
But that's not his. That is not his Kyber companion, is it?
No, it is not. That is not Sky. That is she's unnecessary to this picture, and I would block her out if I could. but-
It's just a racial pick, right? It's like the male-female.
Just a
like
racial pick from the artwork from the book, basically.
It's the Noah's
That's
Ark of space.
Beautiful artwork.
Yeah, it is actually.
Sorry if I sound a little gruff, by the way.
It's kind of got that Kathleen Turner kind of.
Maybe
thing
I
going
should
on.
talk like I'm sick when I'm playing Jensa. That'll be my new Jensa voice.
All right, so you guys roll into a one of the other hangar bays on the ship, and when you kind of enter, you see a familiar sight of his very high-end, sleek ship there. He is sitting in front on some crates, kind of going over data pads with Sky. They're loading up cargo for wherever they're headed next. He sees you guys and raises a hand, waves you over.
I take a half-second pause to collect myself, and then I force on a really big, beautiful smile, and I kind of put a little bit of a bounce in my step as I strut over there.
And I just
Yeah.
say, "Sparkle, Jensa, sparkle."
And as you walk up, he stands from a seated position. He kind of walks up to you and, cocks his head with a smile. He's not being leering or creepy or anything, but he just kind of...
No, he's been charming.
Yeah, he's just genuinely happy to see you. And he says, Jensa, so nice to see you again.
You too. I'm glad you got off that hellhole moon.
Yeah, you and me both. Let's just say, wasn't my favorite stop on my journeys lately.
I don't think a lot of people are going to be stopping there now.
No, it's crawling with Imperials.
Well, I hope they enjoy it. It's such a wonderful landscape and such nice people. The natives are amazing folks.
Are you being facetious? Like, are there any facial hints when you say this?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say that, he kind of turns to you with a kind of bit of a smile, and he says, "Yeah, you didn't end up so bad off this. I noticed you came away with the ship."
Yeah. Won at a poker game. Guess I'm lucky.
Can't don't think it's weird or anything, but I couldn't help but take a stroll through your hangar bay to check it out. It's you've got an Immodore. It's pretty nice. Wouldn't have thought from our last meeting that you fellas commanded the kind of credits to come out with something like that.
Well, girls like me are full of surprises.
And you see a huge smirk on his face when you say that. And then he quickly looks over to you guys and he's like, "Oh yeah, rest of you get over here. We got to talk, and I don't have a lot of time."
Yeah, nice to meet you again as well.
Yeah, Vic. Nice to meet you too, man. Listen, about that ship of yours. I don't know if you
Not
guys
for
knew
sale.
this.
Not for sale. But go ahead.
No. I wouldn't dream of taking your ride, Jensa. But I thought you might know.
Broken in.
He kind of whispers under his breath that there's something else he might like to break into, but you're not sure if you heard it right.
Welcome
And
to
he
Try
says,
Cowboy.
Okay, and that there's a like visible look of shock on his face, and then he you hear like behind him, like Sky kind of turns her head suddenly and just huffs like, and he says, yeah. So about your ship, I'm sure you already knew this, but you know it's registered to this guy named Hades S. Not you guys, right? I'm sure you came by it through creative means, and as he says it, he just kind of like slow claps for a second. I might say though,
I haven't had the opportunity to change the registry. I don't know if you'd be able to help us with that, would you?
yeah, I definitely would suggest you all find a way to re-register that ship through legal means with Boss. Any of you who have education or knowledge core worlds, you can roll an average knowledge check. Or, through legal or illegal means. Otherwise, it's probably likely to raise a brow at most checkpoints. Take it from a career smuggler, kids.
What's average?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What's average? Is it 2?
2 purple dice.
I do not have the...
I don't have a result.
Victor, do you know anybody?
Tyrus, your result was a failure.
Oh, there it
May
goes.
I attempt to roll an underworld
I failed.
check to see if Victor knows a way that Victor would change the registry?
Yes, you could, actually, but that would be a hard one.
I don't know if you noticed, but that moon really sucked, so I just haven't had the opportunity to mess with it.
So, satisfy a man's curiosity. How did you wily folks come across this fine vessel?
Poker game, told you.
I didn't know you guys played.
I don't usually, but I felt like a hand, and turns out I'm really lucky.
I wouldn't mind catching a game with you sometime. I didn't see you as the type to hang out in dive bars.
We really have to figure out a way to do more business together. I do enjoy these conversations.
I like her. And he turns to Sky and he's like, "Can I have one?" And she just spins away from him, walks away towards the ship, and starts scanning things there.
She's gonna get jealous. You better watch out.
Vic, are you rolling?
I say, nope, nothing I've never done.
Yeah, so, he kind of sees the blank stares in your faces, and he goes, Boss. You guys never heard of Boss? Bureau of Ships and Services. Probably the most independently powerful civil agency in the friggin' Empire. They have every branch office at every...
travel in this civilized empire.
Every major spaceport has a branch office, and virtually no one who flies anywhere within galactic space would dare operate outside their authority.
Yeah, sorry, I'm more of a crew member.
Got it. Well, let's put it this way. Boss maintains records for every ship and every captain, including registrations, their certs, ship stats, transponder codes, weapons, upgrades, everything. It's got to be on your datapad. The boss assigns transponder codes for every ship, and every captain has to maintain that datapad with all that info at all times. Now, it's fine if you never get caught, but a lot of times you'll head into a port or cross a checkpoint. They're going to ask for your boss datapad. And if your info doesn't jive with what they have on records, then you're going to have problems. And these days, the Empire is pretty ruthless, and I don't think they let pretty much anything slide. Best you can hope for is a huge fine. Worst is, your ship being seized.
I'm sure it gets worse than that.
We'll check them out before we
Probably
leave.
so. Well, the Bureau transmits all the data from every spaceport Imperial office. In particular, it kind of interfaces directly with the Imperial Space Ministry. So the Empire doesn't control them. They're an independent operation, but let's just say they work together in the current political climate. Now, I don't know how much you guys are looking to spend on this, but slicing the registry is insanely difficult and requires a specialist who can circumvent the rather impressive security protocols. Or, if you'd like, I can set up a meeting with a boss regional admin who, has been amenable to palm greasing over the years.
I would greatly appreciate that. What do you say, Ty?
I just look at Hawk and think this is going to cost me a lot of money.
He winks. Oh, did you say it out loud, or did you think it?
No, that was an inner monologue, but my arched eyebrow says it all.
So as you say that, you see all of a sudden Geleth, who's been speaking to mainly Jensa and kind of sideways speaking to you guys. All of a sudden, his gaze cuts across straight to Kip, and he turns and he suddenly says, "Who's the kid?"
He's just a kid we picked up.
He nods to Sky, who suddenly looks at him for a second, and then reaches up to something that she's been working on the ship and tosses it straight to you, Kip. Sort of throws it right towards you.
He awkwardly tries to catch it.
Make it an easy coordination check, please.
He's too busy drumming his fingers. He can't catch anything.
Easy is one difficulty dice?
One purple dice, yeah. Okay, so you reach up to catch it and kind of don't quite make it, and it thuds you right in the chest and then falls down to the floor. And you might expect Geleth to kind of roll his eyes. Just think he doesn't. He's actually just staring at you with great interest.
I reach down and pick it up without any sort of...
Is there any kind of sense motive I can do here? Is that vigilant?
That would be vigilance, yeah. You could do a vigilance check. In this case, average difficulty. You have to tell me what it is you're trying to notice, or what you're trying to insight.
I'm just trying to pick up on why he's so keened in on Kip all the time.
Yeah, go ahead and roll that.
So, but Kip picks it up. He's avoiding eye contact with everyone, but those of you guys who have been studying Kip, I suppose, like say Tyrus, that's not That's not out of the norm. He does not make eye contact.
What's the difficulty?
Average, 2 purple dice. Okay, so Jensa, you can kind of see that his gaze is trained on Kip, but is looking sort of down at the device on the floor and up to Kip again. You can tell he's kind of eyeing the tools on his belt and things, and you gather that there's something about Kip's sort of natural interest in gadgets and tinkering that he's somehow picking up on and is interested in.
To kind of like just distract him, I'm just gonna kind of like move in, and I'm gonna put one hand on his shoulder and whisper in his ear, "The kid was kidnapped," and I'm just gonna purr a little bit too much in his ear.
Go ahead and
just to thoroughly distract him and say,
go ahead and make
the kid was kidnapped, and he's I think he's been hit in the head a few times, to be honest with you. He doesn't like it when people give him a lot of attention.
Make a charm check for me, if you don't mind.
Difficulty?
Average difficulty, and put 1 boost dice.
Can I
your
add some
physiologic
force
effect
power to that, too?
You could spend a destiny point.
Yeah.
Do you have a force ability that lets you enhance charm?
Not yet, but I'm planning on taking... I want to take move, and I want to take, the old Jedi mind trick.
Okay. So you could spend a destiny point if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a destiny.
Okay, so go ahead and hit the green plus to upgrade the skill check. So as you do that, you see, like, even though he's trying to stare at Kip and see what he does with the object he threw him, he can't help but kind of flick his head over, and then he looks at you for a second, then back to Kip, and then he just keeps looking at you, and you kind of broke his gaze away from Kip for a moment. And he's like, yeah.
And I don't... You didn't call us all the way over here just to talk about boss, did you? I say. And I'm going to stay close.
No. Sorry. Yeah, I owed you guys something. Well, I owed Vic something that I promised him earlier. And I wanted to kind of clear that up, if that's all right with you guys. And, you know, it kind of gives you an opportunity to help me out with something, too. And, you know, come out on top. As he says that,
come out on top.
Kip, what do you do with the device that he threw and hit you and fell on the floor?
So he just picks it up. You know, he's clearly agitated, embarrassed that he fumbled it in front of everyone. You see his hands sort of do the sort of wiggling that you now have identified as agitation and anxiety. But he picks it up. What is it? He studies it.
You study
I'm gonna
it, you
hope,
see...
since I'm distracting the captain, I'm hoping somebody else is gonna keep him from like doing something that's somehow going to draw us negative attention.
You notice just by looking at it, it's a hyperspace condenser, part of like an apparatus as in one of the hyperspace controlling parts of the ship. To you, it's sort of like a puzzle. The relays and circuits are all out of sync. If you were to try and fix it, you would...
Kip's immediately engrossed because he recognizes something's... The pattern that he's expecting to see is not there.
That's right. The pattern you'd expect to see is disturbingly out of alignment, and it's almost pulling to you in a way to want to order it again.
Yeah, he's engrossed. Like,
make an average mechanics check, by the way.
Okay.
And due to your singular focus, you can add a boost dice to that. While
Average
he's working
two?
on that, 2 purple dice, yeah. For you, this is not the most difficult challenge. So, while Jensa's kind of distracting him, and there's some conversation going on about previous discussions that were had with Vic the last time you guys met, within a good 5 minutes max, you were able to pull some tools from your belt, and even without your direct intention, sort of channel the force and realign all the circuits. You're not aware you're doing that, though. But you managed to get everything back in a harmonic state in just about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I will say this. If anyone's watching Kip, as you see him look at this thing, you see the finger waggling just stop, and the most serene, peaceful look on his face comes over him. He is staring off in the middle distance, and his hands are moving like rapidly as he's fixing this thing. But his face does not belie any form of concentration. He's just in the zone, so to speak.
And while Jensa Jensa sort of has Gellith's attention, and to you, you're just hearing background chatter. But Sky, all of a sudden, who's been watching you the whole time, walks over and taps Gellith on the shoulder, and he looks back at you. And he nods to her, and she walks over and collects it from your hand and brings it back to him. And he studies it for a moment, nods his head with a kind of look of satisfaction, and turns to Jensa again and says, anyway, got a bit of a offer for you guys. And Vic, I finally have that lead you're interested in. You might have figured Gran and I go way back. He might carry himself like a fine gentleman of business now, but when we first met, we were running every con and heist job in the book together. After our first...
I believe it.
Yeah. After our first big score, and he kind of elbows you for a second, Vic, and says, story for another time, buddy. We made enough credits to make something else out of ourselves. Old Gran built a region-wide goods and procurement business, but I, however, decided to put my capital into a tech and weapons firm that I started myself. And so Geleth Enterprises was born. Well, Hawk Enterprises, I should say. You see, I grew up in hard circumstances, and I spent my time building things when I was a kid. And he kind of looks over at Kip when he says that. So, aside from my credits for my first love was technology. And as an adult and an independent professional, I became tired of imperial restrictions, monopolies of corrupt super corporations that are now in the Emperor's pocket. There wasn't any place for independent captains, bounty hunters, treasure hunters, smugglers, to go for decent tech that wasn't restricted by imperial bureaucracy. So I built a company that would innovate. Best field tech and weapons and gear you can get outside of the establishment. Unfortunately, that made me, a lot of enemies amongst the big dogs in the arms and tech world. Like Blast Tech, CNR Fleet Systems, Aerokid Industries, Marathon, you've heard of all these companies.
You don't
Stodgy, overfunded, corrupt, talentless organizations. Well, anyway, it turns out that a subsidiary of Aerokid Industries that deals in information gathering droids, and I'm sure you all recognize their infamous Viper probe droid, has stolen a prototype that I was working on. This unit, this thing that I developed, I like to call it the Repulsor-Enabled Multi-Utility System, or REMUS. I had designed this thing to be wearable droid tech that could deploy from an armored suit and assist the wearer in any number of tasks. I'm talking slicing, scouting, mechanics, linguistics, combat, you name it. It was a triumph in miniaturized multi-skill set droid technology. And it was stolen from me, and I want it back. Furthermore, I believe it was stolen by a very bad individual backed by the Crimson Dawn. My sources suggest the Crimson Dawn assisted Aerokid Industries in the theft in exchange for copies of the schematics. And Vic, if you want to roll a average underworld check, I could tell you more about Crimson Dawn.
I missed the name of the organization.
Kip knows about the Crimson Dawn.
Yes, Kip, you would naturally know about it. Aerokid Industries.
But he's engrossed.
This would be the company that makes the famous Viper probe droid, which is the one that landed on Hoth in Empire Strikes Back and found the Rebel base. An iconic piece of droid technology that the Empire has appropriated for its oppressive uses.
Gotcha.
Vic, so you're very aware that the Crimson Dawn is a extremely well-connected and formidable organized crime syndicate. They are ruthless. You have heard whispers that they have their hands in a lot of things in both the Outer Rim and some of the sort of mid-rim and expansion region business that's going on, and that they're not people to be messed with.
Well, I gotta tell you, Hawk, I like what you're saying here. This is definitely something I'm interested in assisting you with, assuming that you need somebody who can use a prototype. I may know a guy.
He looks back over to Kip again, and then he looks at you. He says, yeah, well, my proposal is as follows. You'd head to the Sembla system. It's near the Tyon cluster. My little assignment's right on the way there. You recover the Remus tech before they can undo my security lockouts and access the data core. Slice their computer mainframe and delete any info related to Remus so Aerokid can't use it for whatever the hell they intend to use it for. And avoid any Crimson Dawn, I suggest. I'd actually suggest you try the deception and infiltration route over a violent invasion, but that's just me. Sky can fill you in on the details. If you do this for me, you'll have my gratitude, 5,000 credits, which, is gratitude in addition. And I'll throw in a medium laser emplacement on the front of your ship, because as it stands, it's kind of woefully short on firepower. And he looks at you, Jensa, for a minute and kind of shrugs his shoulders as if, don't mean to offend you, but...
I've had it for 24 hours, man.
I look to Sky, and I say, send me the pertinence.
And Vic, I mentioned before that there's a device that any slicer would die to get their hands on. in this facility I need you to go into, they have installed in the mainframe you're going to try and slice a crux data breaker into the computer core. This little beauty can both defend a system it's installed in against incursion or assist an expert slicer in breaking down nearly any system. I suggest you relieve them of it while you're there. Consider it a reward. And as an out-of-character aside, it is an item. You can either use it to assist in slicing a computer system, or you can install it in a computer system to defend it against slicing. And then he looks over to Kip for a second and he says, "Hey, kid.
Yes, sir.
If you and your friends can pull this off in its entirety, I'll let you be my field tester and development partner on this Remus tech. You can hang on to it and help me develop it. What do you say?"
For the first time since he improved the lightsaber, you see him actually smile. He says, "I accept the challenge, sir."
Very well.
I'm
I'll
gonna
let Sky.
look at him and say, "Do you know Kip somehow?"
Never met him before in my life, but hey, when you're a tinkerer from a young age, you can recognize another one pretty easily.
Huh. I'm just gonna leave it there.
I will go up to
You can make a
Sky with
vigilance
my-
check, Jensa, if you'd like.
Seems odd that he would throw him a data pad.
Actually,
Feel
think of
like
it as a
something's
broken piece of technology. It's a puzzle. It's a
Yeah, it
test.
seems.
It was a broken hyperdrive, actually.
Yeah, but you don't just go chucking those at random people with no reason,
you do
right?
not.
Like, you do not walk around and go, "Oh, that kid looks sullen. Let me throw him a data pad, see what he does with it." "Oh, he shot me, damn it." You know?
Oh, bear in mind, he does wear tools on his belt, and if you go ahead and make a vigilance check, actually.
I don't exactly have a not paranoid character, so. Average difficulty?
It'd be average difficulty, yeah. So you're carefully looking at his face for any sign of a tell, and he seems pretty genuine when he says he didn't know who he was. You kind of get the impression somewhere inside it's just kind of tickling your senses that it's almost like a protective or fatherly kind of a vibe. Like maybe he sees himself a little bit in this person.
Now I'm more mistrustful. I don't know, I'm paranoid. I got a weird feeling about it.
Question
I don't say anything, though.
from the storyteller, and I may not know the answer, but this place that he mentioned, where is it relative to the path that Crate went? Is it like on the way? Could we maybe arrange a rendezvous after stopping by on our way to follow Crate?
Go ahead and make a average outer rim check. Anybody who wants to.
Do you have to? Well,
Boom.
Boom, Vic, you nailed it. Success and triumph. Vic, you actually, just from memory, you can kind of mentally picture the arrangement of the systems you're in the Outer Rim. So you're close to the corporate sector, and after you left Ruria, you jumped over. You're heading sort of along the rough path that would take you into hut space later, but you'd pass through the Tyon cluster first, which happens to be where the Rebel ship Tenacity is, which you kind of intend to go to anyway. For Master Nouen. So this is sort of on your direct path there.
All right, then I'll chime in and I'll say, this place is kind of on the way we're going. If we were going to arrange a rendezvous to debrief after only a successful mission, we could all say, could you meet us just past the system?
You pull this off, you can contact me, tell you where to meet you, and I'll be there.
All right. You've got yourself a deal. I hold my hand out.
He reaches it, grasps it firmly, nods at you, and he says, "I think you're going to love the data breaker." Never hurts to have a carrot on the end of that stick.
And I think you're gonna love getting your technology back. And I nod.
That I would. Nothing worse than a thief. And then he kind of laughs when he says that because he sort of realizes that he's one.
I just grin as if it was just a well-placed phrase.
And then if you have nothing else to ask him, Sky will kind of fill you in on the details.
I get my datapad out, and I take details from Sky.
So Sky walks up to you after Geleth nods to her, and again, she's a very shapely, feminine, very... if it were actually a biological organism, she'd be very beautiful. Her form has been molded to this sort of idealized feminine shape, but she has all these sort of glowing blue sort of holographic circuitry lines all over her whole body that are kind of mesmerizing and beautiful. She's very self-assured. She walks up to you and instantly pulls out a data pad and kind of, begins like almost like a lecture that she's sort of been preparing.
Your destination will be the Sembla system in the Surtar sector of the Outer Rim. It's located between the corporate sector and the Tyon cluster, and the main planet of this system is Sembla, a planet with breathable oxygen covered primarily in vast shallow seas and volcanic islands. A certain region of this planet is nearly constantly engulfed in severe storms. Miss Eosha, please exercise extreme caution in piloting as the high-speed crosswinds and dense lightning activity are extremely hazardous. I have uploaded your target coordinates to Aerokid Industries' top-secret droid laboratory, which is off their corporate records and is handled as a black book facility to test things that would violate regulations. The facility is fairly small, and although it isn't heavily defended, expect some highly trained soldiers to be present, most likely mercenaries. It's unclear if the Crimson Dawn who've been involved with the theft of this technology will be present or if they've already left. Your best bet may be subterfuge. Mr. Hawk has crafted a piece of sham technology that has been given extensive discussion on the HoloNet to generate an interest on the part of Aerokid. He will report it stolen after you leave this very transport. You can use this as a cover if you find it helpful to convince those presiding over the facility that you're tech thieves looking to fence valuable items. Just make the deception detailed and convincing, as your targets will be on alert, and they do not receive visitors to this facility typically. You can mention you heard the location from a fence named Grak Hammock, a Rhodian scumbag known for selling stolen technology. He will not be able to refute your claims since he was recently killed while attempting to steal from Mr. Hawk. Mr. Halleck has been known to sell to Aerokid and the Crimson Dawn in the past. Good luck, and please reach out to me at this HoloNet address to set up a meet after the mission is completed. Please remember, you must recover the Remus technology and purge the computer core. Any additional information you can get from the core would be compensated according to its strategic value. Mr. Hawk spares no expense. Good luck.
And she walks away.
Oh, well, that sounds easy enough.
Did we all hear that?
Yeah,
Alright,
she said it. She said it to all of you.
So, Kip starts his finger wagging again and says, Patron Victor, I was a member of the Crimson Dawn before you picked me up.
Is that so, Kip? Do you know anybody who could be of use? Do you know any names we could drop that could be of use?
That's the guy that we should talk about on the ship.
Captain Jagasan. But Patron Jensa shot him and stole his lightsaber.
I just kind of look innocently.
And when you say that, Geleth like looks at Jensa and raises an eyebrow,
I
and
just
kind of
like
just
look innocent. I just give this hapless little cute shrug.
you can see him shifting in his seat as if he's suddenly needing to adjust himself.
His holster.
He was a Crimson Dawn. I shrug. All right, we'll talk
Well,
more on the ship. We'll
I
formulate
suggest
a
you
plan.
guys craft yourselves a good deception to get on this this facility, and then reach out to me when you have it. I just came back from Ord Cestus, and I have got to get this cargo out of here. Vic, make me a hard vigilance check, please.
I made
All right,
it.
so you rolled a success. Vic, when he says Ord Cestus, something tickles your memory. You vaguely remember something popping up on data you stole from the Rodile mainframe when you were slicing it, and that name came up there too. But you can't quite remember off the top of your head, but you do remember you downloaded the data into a datapad.
Did he say he is taking information to Ord Cestus, or taking?
He says he just
goods?
returned. He said he just returned from an expo at Ord Cestus, like a sort of gave as if he gave a presentation there on his technology. But
All right, I'll keep a cool demeanor and look that up later. Looking at Tyrus, did you want to discuss prices as far as the ship registering goes?
Actually, before I start negotiating, I would like to use my force thought sense to see just what's on his mind, to see where he's headed.
okay, so you want to use the force sense ability. Let's see, you have
Correct.
sense thoughts. You
I
can
have thought
sense
Yes.
the current thoughts of the engaged target. Okay, so
Yes.
go ahead and roll a force dice for me. Well, you roll 2, right? Because you have a force rating of 2.
I have 2, yeah. Turbo.
I have 2 too, I think.
Boom.
Snappy boom boom. That's three light side force
Dang.
points. Okay. So Tyrus, first of all, describe what you physically look like while you're doing this.
When the Mune do anything, their first impulse is to look like they're doing nothing, as you can't even see the gears grinding. So I adopt a nonchalant raise of the eyebrow, as is my way, but you can just see on the back of my head, opposite of my giant forehead, a little ripple right across the occipital cortex. And during that time, I just close my eyes for a moment, and immediately I know my foe.
And as you do this, you and only you are able to get a sense of what's on his mind. And the first thing that comes into your head is,
Oh,
my
man.
God, that ass looks fantastic in those pants.
What the hell?
And then
Yeah,
you,
but who's he
thank you.
looking at? Who's he looking at? That's what I want to know.
he's looking at Jensa.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And
If he's looking at Kip, I'm gonna call the authorities.
no, he's totally looking at Jensa, and
Oh, thank God.
not only do you know that's what he's thinking, but you can almost sense the emotional arousal of it, and you almost feel it yourself. And then immediately after that, you catch a kind of almost like in the back of his mind, something's tugging at him. I've got a contract to start. We got to get things moving.
So, Mr. Hawk, review for me again what your offer is.
My offer: 5,000 credits, a tip on the location of the data breaker for Vic, and if you succeed in not only recovering the Remus tech and deleting all evidence of it from their mainframe, I'll leave it with you guys, specifically in the stewardship of Kip, and we will make him an agreement that he will help develop it with me.
So at this moment, I gather Viktor and Jensa. We bring Kip. Is Bior with us?
He's standing right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Byron, what are you
So-
doing right now? You've been very quiet.
Yeah, because I'm trying to find a spot in it, but in these type of negotiations, I'm better off quiet and better off paying attention to what's going on around us.
He's
Keeping it
not
safe.
wrong there. We've got like quite a few face characters, and he's our like resident badass. So, like him watching our back.
Yeah, he's looking for like for eavesdropping, right?
Yeah. So
Kind of
I
like a creepy
turn.
eavesdrop, yeah.
I turn to Viktor and Jensa and say, "His offer has value. What are your thoughts?"
I'm down. Simple as that.
I'm trying to think of other things to ask for in my negotiation, but the downside of
He had me at medium load.
yeah,
Lasers.
Oh my god.
honey,
Oh my god.
don't sell yourself short. You should ask for the big loads every time.
I'm breaking usual
can't handle
protocol
it.
for this. Jensa,
Our
please
ship
roll
can't handle it.
please roll a D100 for me right now, Jensa.
Roll what?
A D100 for me right now, please.
Okay, how do I do that?
How do you do that?
I look at Tyrus.
Down on
How do I
your
roll a D100 again? Oh, it's the
Roll
percentile,
//DIE space 1D100.
Whilst
Sorry,
you're
what was
doing
that?
that, sorry.
Oh, excuse
I
me.
couldn't hear
It's
you.
it's actually a D10. Roll me a D10. Sorry, it's that little fuchsia one next to vehicle critical. My bad.
You show one. I've got a black.
You almost can't see it. It's
Is that a D10?
All right. So,
you can.
Jensa, you have a force boon for this the rest of this session. It is called "That Is Why You Fail," and you get to perform an out-of-turn incidental action in response to any single enemy skill check or attack roll, and induce an automatic despair. And just to remind you, a despair is like rolling a 1 in D&D, sort of. One-time use for this session, due to your incredible and fantastic comment just then.
My insane ability to make witty, flirtatious comments. I don't know.
So make note of that. You're free to use it this session at any time.
Okay.
While Tyrus is looking puzzled as how to negotiate further, I'm going to give him a look that says, if only you could read my mind.
if only I could. Actually, I can use my force ability on my own team, can't I?
Absolutely. You can use it on anyone.
I would like to return Viktor's gaze and just gently crinkle the back of my giant head. Close
Is
my
there a
eyes.
way to
see what he's
relent?
thinking. Is there a
And-
way to relent?
And Tyrus, what is it you're doing exactly? Just so I know.
Well, I can tell Viktor is trying to say something without saying anything. So I'm interested in trying to make a connection with my own team, which I've never tried before.
Are you talking about using force sense or force
Yes.
influence?
Force sense.
And are you
What is
talking about
Vic-
trying to read his thoughts or his emotional state or what?
Viktor obviously has a reaction that I can sense that I'm not sure what's on his mind, but clearly I want to know it.
Okay, so go ahead and roll a force dice.
Bing!
You fail.
Dope.
Can't read anything.
Okay.
Nope.
Unless, of course, you want to use that as a dark side point and take a conflict and strain.
I will take the conflict. I'm not afraid of conflict.
Okay. All right. So one conflict, one strain. I'll add the conflict and the strain. So you have to kind of push yourself for a second, and you're frustrated by your initial failure and your pride and sense of self-satisfaction with how effective you typically are in situations of reading people leads you to kind of be almost indignant that you had difficulty, and you double down on the effort. And as you pull from the dark side to fuel this, with one single point in your sensibility, you can only read emotional states and not thoughts. So, Vic, what would he be reading off your emotional state in this very moment?
Vic's current emotional state is he's frustrated that Tyrus isn't asking for more out of this deal as anticipated.
Emotional
and he
state,
seems
not
to
thoughts.
be lingering. So he's frustrated at Tyrus.
Okay.
He feels underwhelmed by Tyrus's negotiating performance.
Oh, wow.
Hey, I did my job. I buttered this dude up. He is well lubed.
Okay.
And he's still staring at you, by the way.
I'm still smiling at him. I assume we're making quiet, witty banter back and forth while they're staring at each other.
Yeah, you guys look back
not
and
so
somehow
subtle sexual innuendo is happening.
somehow he and
Hey,
Jensa.
wait, who? Between who? Hawk and Jensa or Tyrus and Viktor?
Very confusing.
Jensa.
It's a pheromone storm. No one knows what's going.
So while you guys are
Tyrus
mentally
just kind of staring blankly at me, I will look over to Hawk and I will say, it would be incredibly inconvenient if the boss were to investigate our data pad before we made it to the station. Is there any way we could accelerate the negotiation you offered to arrange and maybe put in a good word for us?
And while you had turned your head for a second with this interaction with Tyrus, and then you look back at him, somehow both he and Jensa have a martini glass in their hands. Filled with some sort of liquor.
Totally okay with this. Liquor eases negotiations.
And
So
he's
Tyrus
taking
just looks at Viktor and says, "Oh, paperwork. I don't do paperwork."
And he takes a sip from the martini, and he breaks his gaze from Jensa for a second, and he says, "Vic, sorry, what is it, Vic?"
The agency that you spoke of, the ship registering, getting
Yeah,
caught and all
so-
that.
Well, it'd probably be cheaper for you guys to bribe someone, honestly. I know a regional admin who's got some gambling issues, and he's always, let's say, influenced by credits. Probably for 7,000 credits, we could probably get him to alter the ship's registration.
Hey, that works out great.
Yeah, if you could put in a word, I think we'd be interested in meeting this guy, correct? Looking at the rest of the team.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have the meeting arranged, right? I look over at Hawk.
He clinks his martini glass to yours, Jensa, and he says, anything you need. Yeah, I got it. Don't you worry about it. And he looks over to Sky. Sky, set it up. She turns and walks onto the ship, and you kind of see her shaking her head a little bit. Jensa, you kind of read she's like mildly irritated with you.
I assume she has to put up with this on a daily basis with this guy, so I don't know. She's also a robot, right?
She is actually a very advanced, you know from him telling you
There
this
are
before.
a lot of uppity droids around here. Have you
There
noticed
are.
that? Like, there's like a problem. I think we have an uprising on our hands if we're not
She's a
careful.
kyber warrior. She's not just a
She
robot.
is an advanced artificial intelligence that he somehow made from a kyber crystal matrix. So,
Kip is even surprised Kip is surprised at himself that he is offended by your use of the word uppity to describe droids.
But I didn't say it in character.
Yeah. That's organic oppression. I'm not sure that I approve.
Organicism. Thank
Exactly. Thank you. I was trying to figure out how to conjugate organic.
Look, I don't know how you treat your droids in your Star Wars games online, but in my Star Wars games, I also tend to go dark side, so that might be part of it too. I think the only nice droid I was ever nice to in a Star Wars game was the one where you're playing Revan. Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh my god, yes, I love him.
The murder bot.
Yeah.
HK.
Oh my god. HK.
Yeah,
HK. Meatbags. I love that guy.
He's the only droid I've ever been nice to in a Star Wars game. In the MMO, I loved zapping the Twi'lek. I guess she's not a robot, but it's kind of like the same thing, right?
That was fun, was it not, Master?
Alright, I think negotiations are breaking down here. I'm gonna head to the cantina.
Well, aren't we in the cantina?
No, you're in a hangar bay. He's got his ship here and he's loading it up.
Well, we won't keep you from other business.
Alright, good luck, guys. Jensa, be careful.
See you on the other side, handsome. And I'm gonna slide off whatever I'm sitting on, some cargo container or something.
As you guys get up and head out, Sky comes back out of the ship and starts loading up the last of the crates. And you leave the room and you start to head towards the cantina.
My dour expression returns.
As if casting
Actually,
off her
it is the
silky
first
robe.
time we've seen Jensa a little bit lighthearted.
And it was all a ruse.
Purposeful.
So if we get the guns from him and we need 7,000 to register the ship, oh man, basically just enough to fuel up, right?
As of right now, you're fully fueled. That was part of your deal with Shuck. So your ship's topped off. The only thing you guys have to still contend to later is the actual hull trauma that you have. Everything else in terms of consumables and fuel and such is sort of topped off.
Hey guys, I kind of have the need to take a shower now. We need armor. Do you think we could maybe scrounge together 2,000 credits? Or 3,800 for a shield generator?
We have 10,000 credits at the moment.
We need 7 for a bribe, so maybe not the. Let's just save
And
up
just
for the
to-
shield generator.
Just
And we're
to
getting
clarify
our gun upgrade.
your
We're getting the
bookkeeping.
medium guns for nothing.
Yeah.
Hold up one second. Just to clarify your bookkeeping, that's your current amount. You have 5,000 coming to you upon delivery of the illicit crates.
Right.
You have another 5,000 coming to you on completion of this mission for Gelith.
Right.
Well, let's go
So you-
ahead and order the reinforced shield generator.
Mm-hmm.
Can we order it?
You have to be somewhere where you could reasonably get it.
Oh, okay, so we're not even in the kind of place we would get it.
No, you need
Yeah.
either a planet that has some kind of ship outfitting area or a major space station
I
or
just
something
wasn't
like
sure
that.
if this was a major space station. I figured this was, but
No, you're kind of on a stolen transport that a bunch of refugees are getting.
aside from making the boss meeting, I kind of just want to shower, and we've got a lot of dents in the ship, so I'm gonna head back to the ship.
Fair enough. So, Jensa, you're going back to the ship. Kip, are you going with her?
Yes.
Okay. And then Vic, the rest of you guys are going to the cantina?
Who's drinking?
I just look to Bayor and say, I could use a drink.
I agree, friend. Let's get out of here.
So as you walk, it kind of takes some wandering around the ship, which is very interesting view. It's this used to be a Rhodile transport, so it isn't like a very well appointed ship in any way. It was sort of just basically cargo transport. But you can kind of see, aside from various bays kind of being filled with individuals sort of setting up small tents and camps. There's people who came off the dumpster moon, as Jensa would call it. There's pretty much everything has been sort of makeshift converted into whatever is convenient at the moment. And after asking around a little bit, you make your way to one of the large extended sort of hangar bays there. And basically they've just dragged on as much of the alcohol as they could carry. You can see the actual hull structure of the Buxom Bantha had been lifted into the bay through these sort of large access doors on the side of the transport. And these sort of cranes had sort of pulled that sort of fractured piece of hull that made up the Buxom Bantha and set it in the hangar bay. So as you recall it, the entire Buxom Bantha is here in this bay. And as you walk your way in, you see before you familiar sights, a bunch of lowlifes and sleazeballs drinking. You see the Hellions kind of gathered around a corner, and the massive form, the Dowutan form of Hal Satha. I mean, this, 7.5 feet tall and probably a good 500 pounds, like hulking form of this guy, along with everyone else in the Hellion group off to one side. And still people playing Sabacc on the back tables.
I put a smile on as I saunter in, these being my kind of people, and I will head over to the Hellions group. And the ones I know, I'll give a good to see you made it, and order drinks, start mingling.
Throw this up. Again, this is not Hal Satha specifically, but this is his race, a Dowutan. Vic, you order a round of drinks, and as they're brought out to you and passed around the table, all the Hellions kind of lift a glass to you guys and in a sort of informal salute and throw one back. And Hal Satha's kind of kicked back on probably a collection of a good 4 crates laid down, and then another 8 stacked up behind him as like a back to a chair as he's sort of leaning back, sprawling on them, and they're sort of holding his hulking form. And he looks to you, Vic.
Glass to him.
He raises his glass, and he has sort of this giant, almost like a little basin that they would have put some other kind of liquid in, but he sort of repurposed it to be his mug, and he just sort of gulps this enormous amount of liquor down and slams the cup down on it. He kind of waves you over with his hand, wants you to come closer.
I get the refill, then I head on over.
And as you meander your way around, you see him sitting there in this sort of group of crates with, he's got Crisper next to him, the sort of thin, wiry one with the glasses, and the rest of them. And he kind of gets up off the chair for a second and sort of slaps you on the back in a jovial way, but it almost kind of knocks you sprawling onto the table. And he turns and he says to you,
"Well done, mate. Very, very good. I can't frickin' believe you pulled it off."
I can't freaking believe we pulled it off.
Those Rodile bastards, you went in there and you completely f***ed the place up.
Yeah, we did some damage. Kinda regret not doing more, but oh well.
In one day, we went from being the people that Rodile was kicking around the moon to pretty much owning their shit. So, as a gesture of appreciation, I wanted to, kind of express that we kind of think of you as a brother.
And he pulls something out from behind the crate formation. And as you look at it for a second, it's sort of some kind of animal leathered hide vest with the sleeves sort of cut off. And it has like a Hellion's logo on it. And it has the acronym HERO, which basically, as you recall, was Hellion's Redstone Originals, kind of referring to their particular gang. And you recognize it as a cut, which is like a gang jacket that would be worn by members. And it's sort of a trophy of acceptance and an invitation among the group. And he hands it to you and he says,
"We'd like you to be an ally of ours. Nothing expected at the moment, at least. But if you ever need us, we'll back you up."
I kind of hold it up and I say, "Wow, this is much more than I expected.
And
This is incredible."
Yeah, if you're not mistaken, you would never guess, but someone of his stature and appearance might kind of blush a little bit, as if it meant something to him that you said that. And he said,
"We Hellions, we always stick together. And, we're here for you if you need us. That's all I'm saying."
And he goes and he grabs another tankard, this big sort of jug, and just slams another big mouthful of liquor back. He's like,
Enough talk. Let's drink. Let's get it. wasted.
You play Sabacc?
Hell yeah, you play?
Let's start a game.
Right.
And as he walks over, there's a bunch of people still at the table, and there's not really like a lot of room except for maybe one stool, which he would never fit on. So you can see him kind of like stick one leg in where the stool is, push his body there, and in so doing, as he works his way around, he literally knocks the 3 people around him on either side, like off their stools and to the side. And instead of them being offended or saying anything, they look back at the rest of the Hellion group that's there, and they just sort of reach up to the table and sweep their chips off and just like scurry away.
Have a seat, Vic.
I'll sit down with him. We start doing the Sabacc thing.
You actually want to play a hand?
Can we do that?
Of course.
Let's do that.
All right. So this is how we will play. By the way, do you want to invite any of your teammates to play?
Oh yeah, I'll usher them over.
Tyrus usually doesn't engage in card games, but he is a polymath, so he's interested.
Good.
And Bayor?
Oh, no, wait. No, I'm just standing with them. I'm not playing.
Okay, so you sort of stand behind them, trying not to look like mildly awkward, as you're just sort of like interested, but not wanting to get too involved.
He
Did
wants the
Kip
full
come into
field
the,
of view
cantina?
to protect us.
What's that?
Did Kip come into the cantina?
No, Kip went with
No.
Jensa to the ship.
I will ask Bayor and Tyrus, where'd Kip go?
Kip's with Jensa.
I believe he's knocking some dents out as we speak.
That kid is all work. Well, there goes our ringer.
And I'll give you a second to read over those rules. And I'm going to spin over quickly to Kip and Jensa as you guys walk over back to your hangar bay where your ship was parked. As you come back in, you still see it locked and safe as you left it. And there is a collection of about 20 crates. I would say each about the size, maybe 2 feet high by 3 feet long, stacked up on top of each other. They are neatly.
My fears that it's children and liquid carbonite is what's going through Jensa's head.
Wait, 2 feet tall by. Those have to be young children. I mean, granted,
Baby.
They're fetuses, you know.
Cryogenically frozen.
They're force-sensitive fetuses.
There's an iodine deficiency on their planet, and they're creepy.
paranoid person.
Well, Kip
we'll
reaches
get the
back
dolly in.
Kip reaches into his tool belt and gets out the mallet, and he says, "Shall we get to work, patron Jensa?"
Yes. Let's get these crates loaded too while we're here. I'll load the crates. You can go and start banging dents. Whatever you want to do, Kip. I'm going to grab the dolly off the ship. I'm assuming it's some sort of hovering dolly or something. And load everything up.
Yes, patron Jensa.
And then I'm going to work
so-
with him. I mean, I'm going to be hammering out dents.
Okay. So you guys are on board the ship, or you're working on the outside of it?
I'm working on hull trauma.
Yeah. I mean, we got. I hadn't even had it an hour, and I got shot up by TIE fighter's ship. Needs to be carefully loved and made to look all shiny and new again. It's like buying a car, parking it for 5 seconds, and having somebody rear end you. I mean,
Okay, so you don't have the equipment or facilities to repair hull trauma here.
Hello.
I think we have the facilities.
Actually,
Someone
what are you intending to do?
Patron Jensa, we will need materials to repair the hull trauma.
I'm gonna help him however I can, but he's obviously like a extremely gifted individual with this. So I am going to order whatever things he says we need.
Very good.
And put it on Tyson's credit card.
When you attempt to help, he is polite, but also at the same time very forthwith. He's like, "Can you move, please?"
Okay, I'm just gonna let him do his thing. But I'll get whatever he says he needs.
We need material for whole trauma repair. We do not have that here.
Yeah. Can I get that here, or is that something that we will have to be at a big base to get?
What specifically?
The materials he needs to repair the hole.
You'd need to be at some kind of dock. Planet, space station, something that has facilities to repair.
All right. Next opportunity, Kip, we're going to stop at a big starport.
Yes, please.
And as you guys work diligently on the ship, we are going to jump back.
Is there anything that we go past on our way to our current destinations? Can I do
Such
an
as?
astronavigation? Major ports on the way? Just somewhere we could stop long enough to get what we need for the ship?
Oh, yeah. In just about every major planet of the system, you'll find some level of Stardock. So
I'm just trying to think. We're going the systems that we're going to for sure.
You will definitely pass one.
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead. Since he just wants to be alone and do his thing, I'm just gonna go ahead and coordinate our astrogation or navigational charts just to have that so I don't forget.
So as you go to do that, you realize that for some reason, the ship's computers have no active navigational data. So there is somehow just corrupted system information, possibly from the failed hacking attempt that Vic made last time that corrupted the ship systems. You are going to probably need to find accurate star charts, whether you can purchase them from someone here or not. Without them, you'll be at disadvantage on astrogation checks.
Oh my god. We've got comms, don't we, that work short range?
Yeah, you have short range
comms. I'm
comms.
gonna comm over to Tyrus.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tyrus, we got a problem.
I can barely hear her over the tinkling of ice cubes in our drinks, but go ahead.
You know when Victor was doing that thing on the place that we were at? He apparently wiped out our star maps, I think. I mean, I'm not sure if it was Victor specifically, but we need new charts.
Uh-huh.
Or it's going to be very difficult to get around the system.
And our talented young man cannot repair this issue?
Well, he's currently banging out dents in the hull, so I don't want to overload the poor kid.
So, Jensa, what are you proposing?
Can't you just pick some up while you're out?
Buy a star chart, is what she's proposing.
Do you want me to bring a quart of milk home as well?
Well, I mean, that'd be great, but we don't have a refrigerator, so...
Oh, we'll just pour it down the bathroom hole. It'll be fine. Is Hornaday in the Buxom Bantha at the moment?
You do not see him there currently, though he's probably not the only person who can help you with that.
So, I turn to Victor, who is underworld connected, and I say, Victor, where does a man pick up a series of star charts in this neighborhood?
Can I roll underworld?
Actually, Halsetha overhears that, and he says,
Yeah, I can fix you up with somebody. We got somebody here for that.
Well, there you go. Can we play cards?
Normally about 2,000 credits. I'll give it to you for 700.
So star chart solved.
So, if you will, at the conclusion of the Sabacc game, you can transfer the necessary credits, and one of his associates in the gang will get you the star charts you need.
Perfect.
By the way,
So-
what am I getting accused of doing?
Oh, nothing. She's just blaming you for effing up the computer and ruining her star charts.
When did I mess up the computer? Was that?
Oh, you
Last week.
Tyrus asked for an attempt to hack into systems to try and get information on Crate on the HoloNet, and the effect, you basically rolled really badly. So the effect backfired, and there was sort of like a counter slice into the ship systems, and it
Okay.
temporarily
Gotcha.
disabled things.
I just wanted to make sure I understood how this was all my fault. Now I do. Now I do. Let's win 700 credits.
All right, so as you sit down at the table, the amount required to enter the bet is 100 credits.
Okay.
Easy.
So go ahead and deduct that amount from your credit amount, Tyrus, since you're holding all the cash, I guess.
Do I deduct it just
two of you
from
playing,
me?
so it's 200.
200. Okay, hang on.
And based on the players at the table, the difficulty of this check is going to be average. You are able to either use cool or deception as your skill. If you want to cheat, you can use skullduggery or computers. So you have to tell me if you're trying to cheat the game. If you're just going to play, tell me which skill you'd rather use.
I'm just playing off deception.
Very good. And you, Tyrus?
Given my tendency towards cunning, I'm going to play deception as well.
Very good. So what you guys are going to do is roll a deception check with 2 purple dice. Both of you. All right, and now each of you roll 1 force dice. All right, so as you kind of play out the hand, the first set of cards go around and the symbols come up. You're trying to get a value close to 23, but not higher. You don't want to bust. But there's shifts on some of the cards, so it's a very unpredictable game. So as you're moving along, Viktor, we'll start with you. You rolled 3 successes and 2 threats and 1 dark side point on the force dice, and the force dice just represents chance. So you're going to convert one of your successes to a failure. So actually, Vic, you are able to get very close to 23 without going over. You actually win back your wager amount and another 100 credits on top of it. So to resolve that, Tyrus, add back 200 initially. And yeah, you add back the 200. Yeah, 200.
Okay, gotcha. 100 and 100. Gotcha. Okay.
And due to the threat, if you stay in another hand, you'll be adding a setback dice next time to represent you falling for one of your opponent's bluffs. And then we'll go to you, Tyrus. You also rolled a dark side points. That's 2 failures and 2 advantage. So you lose your wager. You kind of busted this hand. However, next go round, if you play another hand, you get a boost dice to your next check, representing your ability to sort of learn the game and then bluff your opponents. So your net effect basically is you broke even. Mm-hmm. You see that Hal Satha lost this hand. He kind of slams the table and he pushes more credits forward. This time he pushes 200 credits as the opening pot, and everybody follows suit. Are you guys staying in another hand?
200.
Yeah, I'll go again.
So,
All right,
so that's
so-
200 each. That's 400 total.
Yeah, so deduct 400. And go ahead and make your rolls. It is deception, 2 purple dice. And 1 force dice.
Come on,
Tyrus.
money. Come on, money.
Oh, and I roll a force dice as well. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta roll force dice.
Oh my.
Oh, poor Tyrus. Okay, Viktor. Actually, you win. Let's see, 2, 4, 600.
Killed it.
So add 600 to your amount, Tyrus.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, Albie, I didn't add the boost dice.
Do it.
Oh, go ahead and just roll a boost dice by itself then.
Okay.
Okay, nothing came off it.
No boost for Tyrus.
Okay, so net effect is you add 600 to your total, Tyrus.
Great.
You lost your wager, but he made quite a bit back. So, and you see that Halsetha actually won 400 on this hand, and he kind of like raises his fist up to cheer and slams you on the back again, Viktor. He orders another round of drinks.
Sweet. Keep it flowing.
Another drink comes in front of you guys. Drink it.
We gotta get. Yeah. Oh yeah. Shit. Yeah.
All right. So both of you drink. After a couple
Gotta
rounds,
get that 700 credits.
Go ahead and each of you roll me a average resilience check.
This is not my strong suit.
Where is resilience? Sorry.
Hey.
It's a basic skill.
Basic skill. Resilience, got it. Sorry. With how many purple? 2?
2 purple dice.
This is only them, right, Albie?
Yeah, unless you're drinking as well.
Negative.
So you slam back a couple drinks that they pull in front of you. You feel great. And there's another round. A few people stand up and leave the table. A couple other guys come around. One of them actually is dressed in sort of black leathers and has almost like what you might think of like would look like sort of like a cowboy hat, but it has a wide brim, and instead of kind of being like ridged on the top, it's just sort of round, like almost you'd see in a what do you call those? Like a bowler hat, only with a much wider brim. He sits down at the table, kind of puts out a stack of chips. Next hand comes around, and they call for 300 as the initial wager.
Are we up?
We are up. Yes.
How much are we up by?
We're up by 400 net.
All right. I'm gonna play this round.
And you, Tyrus?
And that was 200 per person, Albie?
It's now 300 per person, so the
Okay.
total would be 600 to enter.
My pride would not allow me to quit at this point.
Oh, damn.
By the way, I am not trying to influence what you should do, Viktor, but I will remind you, you have a skifter.
Oh, I know, but if I
Okay,
roll one threat, I'm caught cheating, and that seems impossible to avoid.
Okay. So go ahead and roll. This time it is a hard deception check. Your new player at the table seems to be eyeing you very carefully. He doesn't have any obvious tells.
Ugh.
I'm gonna use a force chit.
Ooh, slam, boom. Okay, roll a force dice, both of you.
Okay.
Oh, give me all that money. Give me
F.
all that money.
Yay,
F,
finally.
Viktor.
Yeah.
Okay,
Finally.
so Tyrus, you lost your wager. You lost the 300, so you don't add that back. Viktor, however,
So my failure isn't offset by my force chit?
it is, so that failure is gone, but you have no successes. So you have basically not having a success or a failure is a failure.
Oh.
So you have to have at least one success to win.
The glass is half empty.
And Vic, you have 4 successes, so you win what? Geez, 3, 6, 900?
Plus 900, so minus 300. So that's another plus 600 after we pay Tyrus's loss.
Gambling.
So
So
that puts
so
us
you
at
add
12,
back-
right?
Let's see, 3, 6,
It puts
9,
us at
12.
11 to 20, I believe.
All right, so your total that you add back, Tyrus, you
Yes.
subtracted 600, add back 1,200.
Oh, okay. So So
And Vic, if you stay in the next hand, the guy with the black hat is eyeing you hardcore right now.
Oh, no. Whoa. We got plus 700, right? Like, what is our total? That
we're up to
won so far?
11,550.
What
So
was the start?
we're up about 1,100 points.
Okay, so let's go ahead and call it here because we got our 700 credits.
Right.
That makes up for whatever error I made. Apologies. And plus 400.
Indeed.
Let's take 200 of those credits and shower the Hellions with drinks.
Oh, classy. I like
Make
it.
it rain.
All right, so they give you the star charts for free after that.
Oh, how nice.
And after throwing back a drink with them too, and everybody's kind of singing almost like a shanty kind of like drinking song there. They're all sort of slapping each other on the back and giving Victor a hug and everything as you guys kind of make your way out. Across the room, Halseda turns from the Sabacc table, Vic, and he kind of gives you just a single nod and turns back to the table.
I give him a nod as well, and then I throw the jacket on as I walk out.
Very good.
So we plus 900 after paying out for drinks and not having to buy the star charts.
So this is the area that you have star charts for. This is part of the Outer Rim. As out of character description, what's going to happen basically as you move on in your adventures, you're going to want to either explore on your own, in which case you'll reveal areas based on your skill checks on astrogation. If you roll well, you'll reveal areas you intend to go to. If you don't, you might go to unintended places or get stuck somewhere, etc., etc. Or as you go to any major planet or settlement, you can purchase navigational data. When you make astrogation checks, they are skill checks that, in this case, Jensa would usually make because she's invested in that skill. But the idea is you're using your skill with the ship's systems to plot a course in hyperspace. So hyperspace, of course, is can be a dangerous way to travel, and there have to be a lot of complex calculations made. And a pilot's knowledge of systems, and especially, more importantly, current knowledge of systems, in other words, star chart data can become outdated, will benefit them in sort of making successful checks. And if you have a lack of navigational data or outdated charts, sometimes you have a setback to those checks. So you basically have, this map is part of the outer rim. You can see the corporate sector. Down towards the bottom, you see Ruria, which is where you guys started your adventure, the moon around Ruria. You currently are in Zygeria, near there. That is where you met the transport. And your mission with Geleth takes you along that minor hyperspace lane, that light blue line, heading sort of eastward to Sembla. That is where your mission is for Geleth. Then moving past that, you see a light blue circle, that entire, not circle, sort of blob. That light blue blob, that's the Tyon cluster. There's a number of systems in there. And you are actually meeting the rebel ship in the Tyon cluster, right where the minor hyperspace lane runs into Liana, sorry.
And where's Nar Shaddaa? That's where the guy was going, right?
Correct. If you were to keep heading, that bright purple line is one of the major hyperspace lanes. If you were to follow that and keep moving essentially eastward, if the map were to continue, you'd run into hut space. And that's where Nar Shaddaa is.
Ah, gotcha. All right. Well, this is very helpful.
Yes. So this is your current layout. You are fairly close to Felucia, which of interest is where those Panthers came from. You are near Korriban and Sith space. You are near the corporate sector. And I assume you guys head back to the ship?
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
I kind of stumble back to the ship.
So as you've gotten back to the ship, the crates have been loaded on board already. They are now neatly in the cargo bay. I will once again throw on the screen. God damn it, I can't break that habit. on your errant seeker star map here. So in area number 2 is cargo bay. That's where the crates were loaded onto. You guys climb on board. Jensa's already in the cockpit, kind of seated at the controls. She's already been working on trying to figure out some navigational information. As you bring in the star chart, she might find that useful. And then you can tell me what you'd like to do next.
I want to go to the cargo bay.
Okay, so Tyrus, you head over to the cargo bay. And what do you do once you get there?
Well, the first thing I want to know is how many crates there are.
So you see 20 crates stacked neatly together on top of each other, of course, about 4 high.
Are there any markings or any other sort of indications of what they're from?
These are a slate gray dark cargo container. There are some markings on them. In this case, these markings indicate agricultural goods.
Mm-hmm.
It's weed.
So I want to do a force sense check to try to sense the thoughts or emotions of anything that might be in there, in case it's livestock.
Go ahead and roll me 2 force dice, please.
Wow.
So as you reach out to the force, you masterfully kind of channel I guess maybe the quiet of the ship, or maybe it's the proximity to the holocron, or perhaps this place just feels like home to you all of a sudden. However, you are able to instantly find this sense of centering and peace, and you reach out with essentially a newfound ability. And as you do, there's almost this concentric sort of energy field that you project outward from you in all directions, and you instantly feel the presence of Jensa in the cockpit. You feel in the lounge Bior and Viktor kind of there, and as that energy field passes around you through the crates, you feel nothing. You pick up no emotion, no thought, no really sense of anything that is alive in the force in the immediate cargo bay.
Cyrus breathes a sigh of relief, only because Jensa's itchy trigger finger is worrying him at this point.
Do you share this information with your colleagues?
Not at this time.
Okay. Now, anything the rest of you would like to do before we kind of take off? And Kip, what are you doing right now?
Kip is in the engine room. He recognizes it. He's fiddling, trying to optimize the hyperdrive and any other forms of electronics.
Okay. So, after Viktor, you turn over the star charts to Jensa. We load them into the computer. And Jensa takes a moment to do her first sort of set of astrogation calculations. I'm going to roll those on her behalf, actually. All right, so Jensa takes some time, and you see her sort of expertly navigate the systems as she plots in a course, and you begin to sort of lift off. After you get clearance from the ship's bay there, the doors kind of open into space. The force field blinks out and allows the ship to take off. And as she engages the engines expertly and lifts the ship off from the cargo bay there, you kind of take out into space, and you are kind of off. And as you get probably, you have to get a certain amount of distance away from the vessel you're at, but as you do, she engages the hyperdrive, and you make your first jump into hyperspace.
That old familiar feeling.
So as you do, the ship lurches forward. You see the stars streak in front of you as you enter this sort of blue tunnel, and you're traveling through hyperspace. If we pull up your map here, this is a good time to quickly cover distances and things like that. From where you are going, which is Zygeria to Sembla, it's roughly a day's travel. Through
I do
hyperspace.
believe she wanted to find like a place to stop.
You will she'd be able to know this with the check, but I'll just say, like, in the Sembla system in your destination, there would be a starport there, where you can kind of get the necessary materials that you need. So there is there's sort of a systematic way to sort of calculate your fuel expenditures and maintenance and all that kind of thing. It's sort of all published in this operational costs book, which I just sort of put into a spreadsheet. So some of the important things is the number of days you're traveling in this case, which is 1. We'll put that in there. You're making only 1 hyperspace jump. You currently have 5 passengers, so you're not over capacity. You have 20 cargo. So you're at 20% cargo capacity, so you're not overloaded. You're full on food and consumables and fuel. And since she got an extra success on the astrogation, she'll be reducing your travel time by 25%. And
Great.
yeah, so that'll all factor in on your costs when you get to the station. Basically, the things you'll have to worry about are, number 1, docking fees. Number 2, replacing fuel that was expended. Number 3, any power that your ship uses in standby while it's docked, like battery sort of power, if you would. And replacement of any food that you would have eaten, like consumables. So when you're traveling like a number of days, it kind of eats away your food supplies. And lastly, regular repairs or maintenance. So I'll kind of, the way we'll work it is actually when you get somewhere, I will have basically a docking personnel will tell you what you owe for the repairs. You're free to try and negotiate with them at your will. And you can pay, or you have to pay docking fees to dock, and of course things like that. But if you choose not to do maintenance or not pay for it or not pay to replace fuel, you're free to do that at your will. The only thing you have to pay for is basically the docking fees. The rest, if you kind of ignore fuel and maintenance, later things could go wrong. But so that's kind of how it works. Any questions about that off the bat?
Sounds reasonable.
Cool. So we'll just assume that you kind of there's nothing important that you wanted to do while you're in sort of nearly 24 hours of hyperspace. I'll just assume you guys got a good rest and everything. You'll start off at your destination rested. The question that I have for you is whether A, you want to head to the planet Sembla and complete your mission, or B, do you want to go to the starport adjacent to the planet to repair and refuel and such? What is your first
stopping
priority?
at the starport makes the most sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Jensa would want that.
I think so.
During that 24-hour period, Kip sleeps his 8 hours, and he asks the others if they have any equipment that they need repaired and or modified.
Oh, I like the way you think.
I don't need any repairs.
Do you need anything modified, Patron Victor?
upgraded.
Let's see if anybody else needs repairs first.
Would he be able to somehow boost my backpack?
It's something that we could explore the
Yes.
concept of. There's not easily a mechanic to change the stats of gear that is has specific effects, but we could kind of work on it if you had a specific idea that you wanted to do to it. Like boosting weapons and
I
armor
would
and
have to
such
think
is much more straightforward, but a piece of gear that has a specific bonus to it, like you...
Yeah, but
Is there something that you'd want to ask him to do to it in particular?
No, it would all be out of character, out of game. Like if like because the backpack has like a database that kind of helps you, and I guess it's kind of what helps you get the boost dice. But if he
Correct.
could somehow increase the memory or the storage capacity of that computer so that it can help me more, maybe add another boost dice, that would be awesome.
Are there any hard points on the item? I don't.
What do you mean hard points?
So when you have items, there are a certain number of sort of upgradable parts to it. So if you have like a ship is the easiest thing to visualize, that you have certain mountings on the ship where you can put extra weapons or new systems or things. But like weapons have hard points. Like for instance, your lightsaber will have certain upgradable compartments where you can add other modifications to it. Each item will have a certain number of hard points, and that tells you how many hard points you can spend to add modifications to your weapon. So certain items may have no hard points. Let me see.
Oh no, I don't have any. It doesn't show any.
Okay,
hard
so the medical backpack has no hard points, so it's not upgradable in any direct way.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the way it works is you can buy things called attachments, and attachments you literally just slot in, and they add features to your weapon or armor or whatever. And then there are things called mods, which you can do to attachments. So you can take an attachment and further modify it, and that's where his skills will be very important because it's usually a mechanics check. And if you succeed, you add extra bonuses to that attachment, and if you fail, you can destroy the attachment.
Okay, so right now what I would need is an attachment.
Well, right now that backpack the backpack has no hard points, so it's not really upgradable.
Okay, so even if I had hard points, I would need an attachment.
No.
Correct.
What he's
So the
saying-
item has to have hard points, meaning it is upgradable. So there's parts of the actual item which can be upgraded, and that tells you. So think of it as like a resource. If you buy an item that has a certain number of hard points, like think Mandalorian armor, it has a bunch of hard points on it, meaning it's a very upgradable set of armor that you can put wrist rockets on, or jet boots or things like that that don't come with it, but is set on that particular piece of gear is like a number of upgradable points on it. So like your light blaster pistol has 2 hard points, meaning and when you look at certain attachments, it'll tell you how many hard points a given attachment will take up.
I get it. Okay.
And any attachment can have certain mods or modifications to it. They require usually more difficult skill checks to successfully do.
All right.
I'll send you more information on that just to give you a better idea. But that's the gist of it.
So basically, what he's saying is, if you have gear that has hard points, Kip can probably invent or mod something to slot into that hard point, but he cannot create hard points yet.
Correct.
Okay.
And I do stress yet.
Sweet.
The other thing you guys might want to discuss is what your plan is for your infiltration or deception or invasion of the facility.
Kip believes Victor and Tyrus will infiltrate and tell him what to do. That's the plan.
That's
Do any of you have any
part of the
questions
plan.
out of character from information that you would have heard in your last discussion with Geleth that you want me to clarify?
I think all of that I got. I more just wanted for my notes, kind of like the spelling of all these places, just to make sure I got my notes accurate.
Okay.
But
Your head-
yeah, we
yeah.
should. Yeah, you can just post it in Discord or whatever. I'm just trying to get complete notes. I sometimes
post-
mangle these characters' names.
I'll post what Sky told you in Discord so that you kind of have it to refer to.
Yeah, I think that's what I need. Man, maybe we should do plans maybe next week, because I know we're gonna stop at the dock, right? We're definitely doing that.
We could call it tonight. We'll say, we'll call it here, and we'll start the next session, you guys landing at the dock. And then you can move on to the infiltration / invasion after that. I posted that in Discord so you guys can read over the details, and you can use that to make whatever arrangements or plans you want to.
Sweet.
And of course, everybody will get 15 XP this session. And that wraps up our show for tonight. We will reconvene in 2 weeks' time for the continuing adventure of our heroes as they journey to Sembla to infiltrate the Erikid research facility. And for all those who celebrate, we here at the show wish you a happy Easter and Passover with your families. We will see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a great night.